you either look at life through a window or a mirror. And when you're stuck in insecurity, you actually are only looking at a mirror. And is, what am I doing wrong? Why isn't this gonna work out for me? Why would they choose me? Where when you kind of open up and like zoom out a little bit, if you ask yourself like, why not me?
Welcome to the Perfect 10 podcast with Amber and Emily, where we challenge the pressures and redefine perfectionism one guest at a time. Our next guest, fitness icon, one of our personal idols. We are so pumped to have her on the show.
That's right. Our next guest today is Kass Martin. She is a celebrity fitness instructor and certified health and life coach. She has inspired thousands of people all over the world and has taught in over 80 countries. She has been featured on The Today Show, The Biggest Loser, and The View. Honestly, we could go on and on about you, but let's welcome. You're incredible.
Oh, they're so nice. I hear that. I'm like, that sounds kind of impressive, but you know, I'm
no,
just
it is. You are
me.
impressive. Own it. Okay, I gotta ask you. Do you remember the first time we met? You probably don't.
I think I do.
Okay.
Was it in St. George?
Yes.
Oh, you're so memorable.
It was like the most. I felt so honored that you drove. That anybody would drive to great lengths to come to the class.
So it was like 2013.
Yeah.
I was pregnant with my Andy, who's now 11.
Oh my
She turns 11 in January. And I was pregnant with her, and I came down to St. George, and I was just so excited to meet you. I just have, that's how long like I've thought the world of you, and you've always been so authentic. And you're just an idol to us, and you've been in this industry a long time, and you're just amazing.
I am equally as, I admire you guys so much, and starting something new. I mean, because I met you in the Zumba world, and you were doing Zumba, and I think you guys are just crushing it. And I'm so impressed with what you guys do, and it's incredible.
It's been a journey.
It's fun. And part of it is inspired by you, because while she's in the bathroom getting selfies with, back then, did we even have, like,
probably,
might have been
we probably were
camera.
not taking selfies.
I don't know what it was, but I got a picture. We must have had phones, because I got a picture. She's like, look who whose class I just took.
Nice.
And then I was like, this is so inspiring. Like, I look up to her so much. I want to rock it too. Like, you know, so you are part of our journey, because you have inspired us.
That's so nice.
That's why we wanted to really deep dive with you
I was
today.
literally like,
I can't
I
wait.
was literally like geeking out. Like, do you think Kass would come to our podcast? Ask her. Ask her.
There was not a single hesitation, not a single second. And it's interesting, because I honestly don't think that anybody really knows what I'm doing or is interested in what I'm doing, aside from like my mom. If she catches it, I'm like, oh, great, thanks, Mom. So
you have a really cool story. So I know, just because I know a little bit about your family, that you come from a very fitness family. Is that kind of what motivated you to get into it, or what?
No, that was the reason why I never wanted to do it. You know, it's interesting, because I mean, I wouldn't say my mom's family was very active.
Yeah.
And my dad's family, not so much, actually. There's like obesity and diabetes and a bunch of health problems. But my mom was a fitness instructor. She always taught like step and pump. And
I was a regular at her step class.
You have to be very talented to get into that step class.
No, I was like a regular during
she's
college.
so good.
She was amazing. Yeah.
I tried to go there and like join a class. This is years ago, and I was like all over the place. I'm like, Mom, this is complicated stuff. You know, she's like, I know, but my people just love it, and they love to go so fast.
The people,
and I'm
the steppers, and they start adding multiple steps.
Yes.
Like
it's
crazy.
They're so intense. Like I need to hold something for a count of 8 or 2 counts of 8. I need to be able to relax in the step. But you know, she really wanted me or my older sister to take over her class. Like, she wanted to retire.
Okay.
And I would not say that I was an insecure person, but I definitely would not define me as confident at that time. And so her saying she wanted me to take over her class, I'm like, Mom, they do not want me. And I am not skilled enough to do that. And she worked on Emily for an entire 6 years earlier than me, because Emily is 6 years older. And she kept on saying, no. But But when I had my second child, I had my son, who made me feel like I was the best mom on the planet because he's just such an easy kid.
Yeah.
And then I had my daughter, and I was like,
Okay.
this had nothing to do with me. Like, there's just different personalities of kids. So my mom was continuing to push it. And she's like, I just think that there's more that you can get from being a group fitness instructor than just the class. Like, you're not looking at the right thing.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be good for you to get out of the house. And so, kind of like in desperation of just finding something that was unique to me is why I became a fitness instructor. And
That's amazing because we've kind of built a business off that. It's like giving kind of an identity to kind of stay-at-home moms where they're in a bit of a slump, and it's like, I want something that gets me out. And so your story really emulates.
it's 100% what it was, and it's why I continue to do it.
Yes.
I don't actually enjoy working out.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's waking up and excited about working out, but you do it for the aftermath. You have to think of like, what does my life look like in 10 years if I don't do this workout every day?
And the people. Like, you show up and you're like, this is the best thing ever. Like your mom said, I think you're looking at it the wrong way. I love that piece of advice, because what you gain from the, like, until you've taught fitness, you don't understand.
Oh, you know, and you're so wrapped up in like, I've got to do it right, and they're going to notice all my flaws and I'm not good enough. That's actually not it at all. That's not why people are there. And in
They're
fact, they
grateful
don't
you're
want you
leading
to be
them.
perfect.
And they love it when you make mistakes.
Yes,
Because they're
they
like,
do.
you're human. And that's what it's all about, is inspiring people. Well, we're so glad that you decided to do it. And
thanks.
we want to know how you became like the face of Zoom. Like, how did that all evolve into what it is
I
now?
know, because if people don't know, like, Zumba started and there's Beto or whatever, but like, you became the face of Zumba.
You know what it is kind of a wild story when I look back at it, because so once I started teaching.
Was that your first certification, or what was your first certification?
Actually, my first certification was Hip Hop Hustle.
Oh my gosh.
And that was with Shalene Johnson.
Yes.
And she did like Turbo Kick. And then my mom was in love with Shalene. And Shalene came and did the Hip Hop Hustle training. But it never took off. And what was interesting about it, and my personality, is very much like, don't tell me what to do. I've got a lot of that. I'm the baby of the family, and it's like, hey, listen, nobody was around to tell me what to do growing up. Don't tell me what to do now. And so something about that format where I had to do the move just as it was presented did not resonate with my personality. And they're like, you got to hold this move, and you got to do this move for 6 weeks. And I was like, that move is so dorky on me, I can't. So I actually had taken over a class for the summer and finally built it up. And I'm telling you, like, there was, the first time I taught the class, there was like 60 people. And I ended
the first time.
Yeah, because I took over someone's class. And I ended with 12.
Like,
well, that's a rough, like, I always say to people, be grateful when you start and you have 2 people.
Yes.
Like, that's how you
Seeing
want to
people
start.
packing
You
up
can
and
work
on your
leaving.
craft.
That's
And
crushing.
I took over a dirty dancing class, and like Zumba is not a dirty dancing class.
No.
And then I do like merengue march,
Yeah.
and people are just like grabbing their bags and leaving left and right. And I'm like, this is a total disaster. And I ended with like 12 people, and my mom, my cousin, my aunt. I had like a couple other, maybe my brother-in-law was there. I recruited so many like blood related people that they had to stay.
Yeah.
So of the 12 remaining, only 6 were there like by choice. And it was just awful. And so, so it wasn't, so anyway, in starting with teaching Hip Hop Hustle, it never quite took off. And I really needed like that freedom for creativity, which is really what Zumba offered me.
Yes.
And so like they give you songs, they give you 2 different formats or 2 different routines of each song, and you get to mix and match. So once I started teaching, it was the first time in my life where I thought, the harder I work, the better I will get at this. It's the first time that it like clicked. And so I had like a dose of ambition for the first time. And I'm like, I think that I could actually get good at this. This could be something really fun.
Yeah.
And so I saw that there was an application for what's called a Zumba Jammer.
Yeah.
And it is somebody to teach choreography, teaching skills, musicality to existing instructors. And I'm like, I'm going to apply for this. And my husband's like, sweet, what are you applying for? I'm like, I don't even know. And I'm like filling out the form, and I ended up getting that position. Simultaneously, I had entered into a competition of like incredible results from Zumba. So I really like put all energy out in kind of multiple areas. And so I got selected from the incredible results thing at the same time as I was selected for a Zumba Jammer. So I got convention for free, and I was trained as a Zumba Jammer, and I started to meet people who were like decision makers. And I pretty much showed up as like with my hand raised as like, who's in charge? And like, how does this thing function? And my curiosity was so piqued. I didn't know, I'd never seen anything like this ever. I'd never seen fitness outside of a gym.
Yeah.
So you walk into a convention with thousands of people, and I just was taken back of like, how does that person teach to hundreds of people? Like, I don't get it. How do they do that? How can I learn those skills? It wasn't like, oh, I want to be on stage. I was truly amazed by the skill set that they had because I'd never seen anything like it. And I met producers, and I met the CMO, and like in Zumba, the head of Zumba is always looking for a new talent. So I met the producer for the new set of DVDs that they were putting out, but kind of by mistake, because I sent in that video for the incredible results.
Yeah.
But I had two of my friends in the video with me. And the truth was that they got selected and not me.
Oh.
So my friend called me and was like, hey, we're going to get this, that, and the other, and we won this big prize. And I'm just waiting for the prize. And then it never came. So I was kind of like, who's the producer around here who was supposed to call me with like this great prize? Who's in charge here? Like, this guy was like, oh, that was me. And I'm like, why are you getting my friends the royal treatment? You're not giving me the royal treatment. What's going on here? So anyway, I'm saying all of this to say that like, I really met a lot of people who were looking for people. Yeah. And so that kind of came together at the right time. And at the time, the market had crashed. Like, we had the great crash in 2008.
Yeah, because it's when I moved to Calgary.
Yeah,
that's when I moved to
where
Calgary.
we met is 2008.
Okay, so after that crash, Zumba needed to show that they were still on the market, which is why they were coming out with this new set of DVDs, which is why they did a huge media blitz. And they were looking for somebody who was very relatable to like girl next door, all-American girl.
Yeah.
And so I ended up meeting the people who could put me in that position.
That's amazing.
And so that's kind of where that happened. I was in the DVDs. I remember Beto saying, I want you to be the new face of Zumba. And I was like, I have no idea what that even means.
It's incredible.
And then the following year I show up at convention, and there was literally like
Billboards?
3-story high billboards of me, and every key card had my name or my face on it. And I was presenting, and I just thought, this is the wildest thing on the planet. But I just put my head down and went to work.
Yeah.
And
you put yourself in front of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, you worked for it.
And you
I
made
think
that
that's
first
what
step.
people think is like, oh, they just got chosen or whatever. Like, you really were like, okay, I want to become better. What do I need to do to...
Yeah. Well, you cannot deny the law of attraction.
Yeah.
No.
It cannot be denied. And so if you were going out there with the energy of like, I want to learn, and opportunity comes to those who are ready.
Yeah.
And anyone who tells you differently is just not putting themselves out there, and they're hoping for a lucky break. But even a lucky break is not so lucky.
Yeah.
It's presenting yourself with the energy of like confidence and eagerness to win. I mean, they studied 2 people with the same set of skills applying for a job. The person with more confidence is going to get the job every single time.
Every time.
Because it has an energy of like, I don't actually know what I'm doing, but I surely can learn.
And I will work at it.
And I will work at it. And that was even what I said. I got a call, I was in Walmart, and they were trying to find someone to do QVC. And he's like, the producer said, hey, do you have any, experience in live television? And I'm literally like pushing my toddlers at the produce section at Walmart. And I'm like, in what world would I have experience with live TV? I've been like making babies.
Yeah.
And
Did
I
you
said,
say, yeah, I got this?
Yeah.
no, I said, actually, no, but I'm sure I can learn.
Yeah.
And so then is when I started doing like that huge media blitz for Zumba, which, I rewatched a video of me on Martha Stewart the other day, and it was just hilarious. It just takes me back to that time. But that's when that ball started rolling.
And how old were your kids at that time?
When I first started teaching, they were 3 and 1.
Okay. So when you really started traveling and all
They
of
were
that.
5 and 3. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember them being like, hey, do you have a passport? And I'm like, why would I ever need a passport? I'm never leaving
I love
Utah.
this.
What are you
Yeah.
talking about? And I will say that throughout that, a lot of people are like, the opportunities that came were laced with so much fear. The first time I did QVC, I bit all my nails off. I picked all my lashes off. Like, I was crying on the phone with Brian. And like that discomfort of growth was so permanent for so long.
That's so scary. Yeah.
It was so scary. And none of these things did I do with confidence other than just like, what's the worst that could happen? Like they don't hire me or they don't ask me back. That's actually not as bad as wishing I would have just been myself.
Or just said yes.
Or just said yes.
But
And-
clearly you being
Yeah.
you and just going after it was the key.
And it was
The magic.
something that I remember having that like inner dialogue of just saying like, okay, option 1, and there was a number of things that led into this, but option 1 was like, try and be something I'm not, but what I think might be good, but I'm not sure. Option 2, let my nerves really get the best of me and not show up. Or option 3, just be like, hey, I'm just going to go in as me. And if this is not for me, so be it. But at least I'll know it wasn't for me because I showed up as me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's amazing.
It's and you taking that any successful people that I've ever encountered or interviewed took that chance. Like
Yeah,
you
you
applied
have
for
to.
that thing. You just went for it. It's like, what if I have to lose? And I love saying, what are you afraid of? Being awesome? Like
Yeah.
that's the end.
But
And it's
you
so
can't
inspiring.
translate that when you're stuck in your insecurity. All you're seeing is a reflection of what you aren't. Like there's the idea of like you either look at life through a window or a mirror. And when you're stuck in insecurity, you actually are only looking at a mirror. And what am I doing wrong? Why isn't this going to work out for me? Why would they choose me? Where when you kind of open up and like zoom out a little bit, if you ask yourself like, why not me? Like surely all these successful people, you don't come out of the womb with that skill set.
No.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
That's one of the biggest things I said when we were starting high. There were a lot of people in the fitness industry closest to me that were the hardest.
Of course.
And the biggest naysayers. I'm sure you felt that when you started to rise up.
Yeah.
People were like, "Oh, she's not even that good." I mean,
Yeah.
probably
No,
not said that.
I mean,
but I'm
people
just
still
saying,
say that.
No. And I remember like sobbing, like probably like one of the biggest breakthroughs I've ever had. And here it was taking off in different areas and people were so kind. It was like right in this little area of like where I should have the most support and love.
Well,
Yeah.
But the reason I think of why that is because people who relate to you the most,
Yeah.
right? Your circle. When you do something outside of that, it's not always that they question you, they're questioning themselves.
Yeah.
Like, why? Oh, interesting. Like, I didn't know that I could do it differently.
Yeah.
And
I didn't
now
know that.
she's doing it differently. And it's a reflection of, I haven't been going for things. It's this weird, like, reversal.
Yeah, no,
that
it is, for sure.
happens. But it's always that inner circle. I mean,
Yeah. So I'm sitting there and I'm sobbing and I was like, and then I just stopped and I'm like, who am I not to do this?
Yeah.
Who are we not to do this? Like if
Absolutely.
you can put yourself through this kind of stuff and challenge yourself and grow, anyone can do that. And if you listen to successful people, entrepreneurs, people who have put themselves out there, it's like they were just ordinary people who were like, I'm
100%.
going for this. And I'm
Yep.
like, okay, great. Maybe you don't think I have the credentials or whatever to do this. And it's like, you're not doing it. So,
Yeah,
you know.
totally.
So what advice would you give our anyone that's listening that kind of is stuck in that mirror mindset?
Yeah.
How do they get out of that? That's the question.
Well, you have to be really concentrated on, number one, what are your thoughts? Because your thoughts determine everything. Your thoughts, without your permission, make you feel a certain way. It releases a hormone to support how you think, right? And how you feel is typically how you take actions or inaction. So if I feel insecure, I'm most likely going to be taking an inaction. I'm not going to be like full steam ahead. I'm going to be like, ugh, I don't want to do that and turn away. So one is like, you have to get real with what you're thinking. Honestly.
The ugly truth.
Yeah. And I learned a lot of that by being alone because I'm the baby of 5. I lived at home until I got married. Then I was married and had kids. And like, I had not been alone ever. So then I was on flights and at hotels and like a lot of time by myself. And I got to know that my thoughts were completely keeping me stuck. Even though I was moving forward with courage, my thoughts were making it like I was dragging this really heavy weight. And so, I was, one of my clients was like, but how do you get to know what you're thinking? I'm like, I honestly, I just sit in the tub and I'm just quiet. And you have to learn to turn up the thoughts on that because without knowing what you're thinking, you can't do thought redirection. And the negative thought will always come. It's by nature. It's self-preservation. It's to protect you.
Yeah.
However, the turnaround time from when you redirect it, that right there is like the magic sauce for me. This is my opinion of life. Because every day I wake up and it's like, you want to sleep longer. You're not ready to do all these things. You overcommitted or you're under, delivering. Yeah. That's the word I was looking for. And then immediately, so I can let that thought linger and then steer my emotions. I can do that for hours and I can ruminate and I can just think, oh my gosh, this day is so awful. Or I can learn to quickly recognize it and turn around that thought and redirect it. And that for me is the biggest game changer in my life.
I love that.
Because then I don't have time to care what other people are thinking.
I don't have time to care.
Well, and nobody's perfect. That's the thing. Is
Not
that
a chance.
You get stuck in, but everyone else is perfect but me.
Yeah.
But nobody is.
No.
And as soon as you just accept that, I think that really helps matters where you just get the confidence.
And you think it's just that you don't know the ends of their mind. You're only hearing your negativity and seeing their positivity. But if you were just to get in there, they're dealing with all the negativity too.
So I can imagine you get thrust into this world that's, a little scary. And we all know the fitness industry can be wrapped in a lot of perfectionism.
Yeah.
Looking a certain way, acting a certain way, talking about things. That's one thing we've really tried to fight since we started is to kind of fight against that and not feed into that.
Yeah, we're trying.
We're trying to
We'll
get
not
loud
trying.
about it. But I just, how was that for you? Did you feel like, whoa, I got thrust into this. I have to be a certain way, all that. And how did you deal with the pressure of that? I mean, because, you're on billboards everywhere.
Yeah. What's weird is I never take it too personal.
Yeah.
Being on a billboard or a poster or a website, because when I look at a Nike ad, I'm looking at an emotion really.
Yeah.
A feeling of courage or confidence or, active lifestyle or whatever. So I never really let it get to me that much. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But I didn't think that anyone was really making it out to be me. I don't know. I don't know if it was just some sort of weird mechanism where I'm just like, well, it was a good picture. I'm so happy they got a good picture.
Yeah.
But I struggled and still do. Everybody does with insecurities. But I had a long time of a bad relationship with food and exercise.
Oh, I think most, like, that's the thing, is I think that's the norm, not the exception. You know, like, and that's what we're trying to break down. And being open about it is where the magic happens.
Totally.
Right? It's like,
and I was talking to a friend about it this morning because growing up, like, muscle was not an in thing. And I've got these like legs, you know, and it's just like calves that are bigger than most men. And I was
that people
always
would kill
insecure.
for.
I was so insecure about my legs all growing up. Never wore shorts. I didn't even wear shorts like in fitness until like 2 years ago. It took me
we
that
have
long.
that in common. I was very muscular.
She's muscular. She
I'm
doesn't even
very
pick up a
muscular.
weight, and she's like jacked.
Yeah, so I understand this.
Sometimes
on a
I think
deep
I'm more
level.
aesthetically strong. I'm sure you could outlift me.
No,
by
I'm aesthetically strong too. They give me the 2-pounders and I'm like olive oil. I literally can't. It's just like genetic, you know.
Yeah.
So we have that in common.
So it's interesting because I think that in a weird way, it helped me because I was in a world that appreciated muscle.
Oh, yeah.
And I would
that.
hear people be like, oh, your legs are so strong. You know, like even like Beto, he's like, you're like superwoman. You know, these legs are so strong. And I'm like, I have been hiding these all my life. And you think that there's something to appreciate. So I started working on my thoughts. And every time I'd look in the mirror or at a picture or at a video, and I would be like, oh, I have man legs, you know, and let that insecurity and that insecure talk like ignite. I'd be like, no, actually, like, I need strong legs to do what I need to do in my life.
Yeah.
And
I
you
actually
find
need strong
out that
legs.
those things that you're insecure about are actually your superpowers.
Isn't that the weirdest thing on the planet?
Yes.
I know, we all figure it out far too late in the game.
It's always too late in life. That's why
you
we're
know,
trying to get people younger and younger.
There's a Yiddish saying that's youth is wasted on the young.
Oh
And
my
it
gosh,
is.
it's so
like,
true.
oh man.
I mean,
it
I think we can relate to this. You have to watch yourself on video a lot. I've now seen myself. You get to a point where you're immune to it. Like people are like, is that so hard to listen to yourself or watch yourself? I'm like, I'm like, oh, that outfit was maybe not the best choice. Anyways, and then I'm like, oh, that was okay. That was a good angle. Like you see that like so many factors go into it and you're just like, I am who I am. And it is like almost like the more you see it, it helps.
It almost is, it's like the scariest thing that ends up being a great thing.
Yeah.
Because you have to not care.
You have to.
I mean, and my husband was so good and has always been so good at being like, why do you care what they think?
Oh, I love
you know? And I'm like, because I like people more than you.
Because I want people to like me.
I like people. I love people and you just don't care. I don't know. I want to not care. And he's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Just as long as you and I are good, all is good.
And I think that's the beauty of group fitness in general.
Yeah.
No matter what group fitness it is, it gives people self-esteem that what I am is my superpower, and that's that. And
there's
the beauty.
so many different body types and ages and this, and that's the power in the group.
And isn't that amazing that there's so many different?
Well, and my husband, he found so much joy in group fitness with CrossFit. Like I am such a fan of group fitness, of whatever one will get you to come back.
That's what we say.
Exactly.
We're always like, group, I don't care what it is, but I'm telling you,
Find
group
group
fitness and the
fitness.
community and whatever it is. Yeah.
So it's, you know, if somebody was struggling with their insecurity, I think there's like this scale, and self-love is so far from how we feel and how we think about ourselves, right? And so what I like work with people on is like trying to come from maybe like self-deprecation to self-acceptance. Like these are my legs, regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So I can accept that they're my legs, and then I can learn to appreciate them. Yeah. Then I can like them, then I can start to really like love them. And so if you're stuck in that like insecurity trap, just going back to like, well, why? I mean, like, this is my body. I refuse to be insecure about something I cannot change. These are the legs I've got.
Absolutely.
And also other people are coveting your legs. Well, you know what I mean? You
Isn't that a wild thing?
Yeah, that's a wild thing.
Coming to this place where we are, you know, where you're like, being us is our superpower. Like, and it's not like egotistical at all.
No, it's the
just
truth.
It's being comfortable in your own skin, and it is absolutely magic.
Yeah.
And I hope, our dream with this podcast and with High Fitness is that more people come to that place, because it's absolutely hell. We've all done it. You just said, you had issues with food. That chasing the dragon of perfection is hell.
And it does not exist.
Yeah, doesn't exist.
It does not exist, and
Circle.
it's ever shifting.
Yeah.
So,
It's a monster.
I mean, it's like, oh, well, I thought these jeans were in, and now I thought I had the perfect outfit, but it looks like these are out. I mean, what we think we're striving for is so unrealistic that when the beauty in life is actually following things that excite you.
Yes.
And you should not be like anybody else. Nothing would get done if we were like everybody else. It should be different. If your path is different than somebody else's, you should congratulate yourself that you found something that is actually for you.
Yes.
If they think you're crazy, perfect. It's not their path, it's yours. So
well,
people
okay,
think
this
I'm
is
wild.
Yeah,
go.
Well, this is the segue into your new business.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt. People think you're wild. Go on.
I was
do.
going to say, I want people to know you are so much more than the face of Zumba,
Yes,
because
yes,
what
'cause
you
we're
have
running out of time and we
taken
want
with your
others.
life, and just even over COVID, you and your sister become these social media sensations, and you build this coaching business. Now you're doing a whole new, you're amazing. You just keep reinventing
You
the
evolve
wheel.
and reinvent. We were talking about that, pre this, that you really reinvent yourself over and over and
Well,
over.
I do think that following things that excite you is so fun. Everybody thought I was crazy, number one, for working with Zumba and traveling and how terrible that was going to be. And I've learned a lot about how people project their fears and their limiting beliefs just outwardly. And a lot of times you can be the recipient of it. And it's like when people learned that I was going to have a baby at 38 by choice after a 14-year break, they're like, you what? You want to have another baby? And I'm like, yeah. And so they thought it was crazy. And I was like, perfect, because you don't need to approve.
Yeah. I love that.
You don't need to approve
How
of this.
cute is Beverly?
Oh, she's
the light of your whole family, extended family's lives, right?
She's a family mascot. She
Yeah.
is so incredible. Her personality is the most infectious, fun thing ever. And then we started a cinnamon roll company, and we were on a double date, and with our good friends that my husband met through CrossFit, another group in this format.
Group fitness.
Okay.
And it's really all full circle. And, her mom had this incredible recipe of a cinnamon roll that she'd worked on for decades. And she'd been trying to get her mom to do a business with her. And her mom's like, I'm pushing 80. Why on earth would I start a company? And so we're on a double date, and we got to the Hale Center Theater too early. And she's like, well, what if we did it? I'm like, absolutely. Wait, what are we doing? What do you want to do?
Amazing.
Yeah, it's a cinnamon roll company. And so that weekend, while we're waiting, we got our Instagram page, we got our website page. That weekend, I made my first cinnamon roll, which was the worst cinnamon roll on the planet. I'd never even made a cinnamon roll. I don't bake.
Yeah, we can't have too many talents. Baking
I
is,
mean, I gave up
But look at
baking
you
and
now.
cooking a long time ago. I'm like, that's not why you married me. Do not have that expectation of me. And so we started this cinnamon roll company. And not because it made sense, not because it has anything to do with the fitness industry or with coaching or with anything, just simply because I think it's exciting. Yeah. And I think that I think everyone, if you were to dive in more to your inner compass, you would go for more things. And it doesn't have to make sense. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It won't be perfect. So definitely don't set that expectation, because you will be disappointed.
yeah.
But it's
The
so
cinnamon
fun.
rolls are delicious.
I love this
I
phrase.
know.
This
So
is exciting.
fun.
So where can people find your cinnamon rolls? Let's start there.
Okay, so cinnamon rolls, we're a locally owned brick and mortar shop in Orem, Utah.
Okay.
And we do deliveries, take-in orders, dine-in, or take-out orders, dine-in. And then we just partnered with Holiday Oil gas stations. So we're in every one of their 75 locations along the
That's
Wasatch
insane.
Front.
The logistics of that
Oh
is
my
blowing
gosh,
my
it's
mind.
wild.
But it's
I
blowing
mean,
my mind.
We have bakers that come in the middle of the night and get started, and my son runs a shop. My husband's like the CFO.
This is amazing.
See every O that there is.
All the COs.
All the COs. And it's so fun. And I really am a fan of people gaining more confidence, gaining more happiness, taking more control of their own personal happiness. and taking care of themselves. So that's with fitness, that's with mindset. That's what got me into coaching, because I'm like, this hour class is not enough. Like, what do people do with the rest of the hours of the day? And then bringing people together with food or with fitness or whatever it is, it's fun. So I'm kind of all over the place.
I love it
but
so
it's
much.
fun. I think it's a strategy of not burning out, because there's just a lot of different things to do.
It's kind of keeping you excited and motivated.
It keeps me entertained.
You bless so many people. You just, your presence on social media, that's why you're so infectious. I think it's the reason why you got the gig with Zumba. It's why you have so many coaching, you have so many followers, because you are authentically yourself. And that's why we want to chat with you. And before we wrap it up, because we got to wrap it up, because we could
talk for 3 hours.
I know. I'm like,
do we need a part two?
Yeah,
maybe
I
we
think
should.
we did, because
I'll come back anytime.
Yeah, I feel like these tidbits are pure
I
gold.
know.
I'm
Did
just
we
like-
even cover any of the things that you wanted to cover?
Yeah,
or did I just go?
We got it.
That's what we did.
We're gonna end with just a few rapid fire questions for you, and then end. So I want to know, what is a word that perfectly describes you?
I would say relatable. Because if you're in the biggest mess of your life, I relate. If you got the dysfunctional family, I relate. If you want to be a goal crusher and be like, have the most freaking amazing life ever, I relate.
I love that. I love that.
Relatable. Ellen DeGeneres one time said that she's relatable, and I think she even had a book about it. And I'm like, I think I can do that. That
I'm
like
relatable.
relatability.
Yeah.
I can do that in all of the things. And but if you want to relate on me about being a perfectionist, you won't find that with me.
No, we're not.
I can't
gonna do
relate
that.
to you on that.
Okay, what's the perfect piece of advice you've ever received? Well, kind of, you just gave an example, but give us another one.
I'll tell you one. So, I've taken this with pretty much any industry that I've been in. And I, at one point, was a ward choir director for my church. Okay, I don't even read music. I sang one time, and they said she should be the ward choir director. This was the worst day of my life when they asked me to, like, they voluntold me, you know, you're like, hey, you should do this. I just laughed. I'm like, don't you think I should, like, have some sort of credential for that?
Yeah.
And they're like, why don't you just give it a shot? So I was on the phone crying to my dad, and he's like, this is what you do. If one person shows up, you make it the best solo ever. If 2 people show up, you make it the best duet. If 3, the best trio. Aww. If 4, the best quartet. And so on from there. And so I brought that into the fitness industry, because there was a class where it was 2 people, and one of them was my mom, and the other one was Joe Flores, bless his heart, for showing up that night. And I made it the best class for 2 people. And I'd made it the best class for hundreds of people or thousands of people, whatever it is. Just try and make the best of it. And it keeps you from, like, dipping into that negativity of, like, I'm not good enough. If you're focused on I'm not good enough, you will succeed at that. If you focus on how can I make it the best experience for the 2 people, 5 people, or 1 person that shows up, then now your mind is on a new track and a new focus, and it will find solutions, because that's what our brains do.
Absolutely.
Do you mind if we put that in our manual?
Yes, absolutely. Yes,
Cass Martin.
But, you know,
Yes.
it
is
is
good
so
advice.
helpful.
Like, I'm tearing up over
No,
here.
because
Like,
so
I have.
helpful.
I think people just think, like, oh, you've always had big classes. Like, I've had 1 person in a class before. And one time, I remember I taught this was 10 years ago, but I taught the biggest class I ever taught, and it was on a rooftop at Harmon's. And then the next day I went to teach my class, and there was 1 person, and I'm like,
how about
knows
that
how to humble, a little slice of humble.
I
But it was
love
like,
that.
we had the best time ever.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's what you make of it.
That's
and
really good advice.
just to wrap it up, one last question. We just want to know, what makes you perfectly imperfect?
You know, I think showing up as you are in that moment of that time in your life, but then trying to switch it and make the best of it. You know, like there's times I show up and I look a mess and I am a mess, but then just kind of owning it and trying to, what is the next best step I can take from here, is what is, like, meeting myself where I'm at, but then always striving to be more and show up as the best version of myself that I can be.
Love it.
Love.
You are so amazing.
Oh,
You're so
this has
authentic.
been-
they're the
we could get
best.
wisdom from you all day. So if you want to see more of Kass, you can follow her
Yay.
at Kass Martin. You can also go on her website, kassmartin.com. That's where she has her coaching and her classes, as well as sunshinebuns.co
Yep.
on Instagram. If you're not local to Utah, when you visit, you got to go check it out because it's
Yeah.
so delicious.
And we're working on shipping frozen. So it
that's-
should be
that'd be great.
nationwide, maybe Canada.
Okay.
Coming soon.
Oh,
It's
I
very
love
hard
it.
to ship
US
there.
and Canada.
I know.
We'll have
I'm like,
to really
maybe-
work on
maybe
the
don't.
borders there.
It's that's amazing.
But when you come, I should have brought some up for you.
I have, grown from you today, honestly. And I hope our
so
listeners
nice.
just drink this all in because it is so, so good. Juicy details that they
you.
can live by and learn by and thrive from. What an inspiration you are. Thank you so
You're
much.
so sweet.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
having me here. This is so fun. What a treat. Made my day.
Such a treat. Thank you. A huge thanks to all our guests. We loved another conversation, and we'll see you next time on The Perfect 10.